the brand new Lenovo Legion Go.
The all-new Lenovo Legion Go.
The Lenovo Legion Go, and I think this is the best of the bunch.
We've got a bigger, brighter, higher resolution, faster screen. We've got dramatically more performance, up to double. We have a first-person shooter mouse mode where you can use the joysticks as an actual mouse. We've got Windows, which means you can run basically any game. The Lenovo Legion Go is truly impressive, but is it going to replace your Steam Deck? Let's find out. And we've got to start out with this screen. The screen is 2560 by 1600, which at just 8.8 inches, it looks incredibly sharp. But you're probably not going to use that much resolution, at least not most of the time while you're gaming. But what that's good for is that scales down perfectly to 1280 by 800, which is the same resolution as the Steam Deck, and that makes games much easier to run. It also has 144 Hertz compared to the Steam Deck 60, and that high refresh rate screen just looks great. Most of the time, at least in more demanding games, you're probably not gonna hit that 144 Hertz refresh rate, but you might get 80 to 90, and that looks a lot better than just playing at 60. The screen size on the Legion is 8.8 inches, which might not sound that much bigger than the 7 inches on the Steam Deck, but if you do the math, it's about 60% more area, which results in a dramatically larger looking screen. And that's all without the actual footprint of the device being very much bigger, because basically what Lenovo did is just shrunk the bezels down to almost nothing, so you get a dramatically bigger screen in not that much bigger of a footprint. It is bigger than the Steam Deck. I'd say it's about half an inch taller than the Steam Deck, but it's about the same width. So you're getting a way bigger screen in the same footprint. So Valve, if you're listening, whenever you come out with the Steam Deck 2, shrink down those bezels, because having a bigger screen in the same footprint makes such a big difference. The screen is hands down my favorite part on the Legion Go, and if you were going to get the Legion Go over the Steam Deck for any one hardware reason, I would say it should be the screen. Although there is actually one other reason that we're going to talk about in a bit, and yeah, it's the FPS mode, but we'll get to that in a second. As far as the controllers, the buttons are nice and tactile. I don't think the D-pad has quite enough travel distance for me personally, but it's totally okay. The joysticks are shorter than I'd like. They're shorter than an Xbox or PlayStation joystick, but they are Hall effect, which means you're not going to get stick drift, and you can make a much smaller dead zone so they feel more reactive. There is a trackpad, but it's only on the right side, and it works totally fine. I didn't have any problems with it. One weird thing I did have is straight out of the factory, mine came with this like faded look, and if you look at any other images online, nobody else has that, so I think it's a defect from the factory, but not a big deal, it's just visual. Then let's talk about button placement a little bit. Usually on every controller you've ever used, the start and select buttons are here and here, and on this one it's not. They changed it out for their Legion Center button and kind of like their quick menu button, and start and select are down here, and that is just a mistake. You are forcing millions of people who have learned that that's where start and select go, because Xbox does it, PlayStation does it, the Steam Deck does it, everybody does it. Why would you move this, Lenovo? That's a big mistake in my opinion, and I've gotten that wrong so many times. That being said, the buttons themselves are actually totally fine. They work great. The Lenovo Legion Center just opens up this, which is kind of like your home base for all your gaming, or at least that's what Lenovo wants you to use it for. And this button, although it works great, it's like your quick access menu. It is frustrating because the first time you press it, it'll open up this menu, which is like quick access. Okay, that's great. But then the second time you press it, it'll open up this, and it's not like double pressing. I'm talking just single press. As far as the controller's ergonomics themselves, it feels pretty ergonomic. It is a big, heavy device, just like the Steam Deck. But I'll say the edges here, because they're not curved like they are on the Steam Deck, it holds your hands a little bit farther away than I would personally like. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I wish they would round that, although I think the reason they didn't round it is probably so that you could use the right controller as a mouse, because if they rounded it, it wouldn't work as well. So I bet that's why they did it, but it still makes it less comfortable to hold when you're holding it as a big old tablet. But speaking of FPS mode, let's talk about it, because I thought this was going to be a gimmick. I mean, this is kind of what Lenovo was selling, is like you can detach the controllers and use the right one as a mouse. And I thought it looked kind of dumb. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I love it. It actually works way better than I was expecting it to. All you have to do is you detach both controllers and you flip a little switch on the bottom of the right controller from off to FPS mode, and that enables it to work as a regular mouse once you mount it in this little mounting thing. And this does have magnets, so they do grip to each other. So this is my first time trying it, and you can tell I'm pretty uncomfortable right at the start. But then even after just 5 to 10 minutes, I'm starting to get comfortable and it's starting to make sense. It feels weird, but it works just like a regular mouse. And so you actually don't really have to relearn anything. You just kind of have to get over how weird it feels to be holding a vertical mouse. And just for the record, I don't play Counter-Strike. This is footage of Counter-Strike 2, but I wanted to feel what it would feel like to play a really twitchy game, because that's when your mouse input is most important. Then this clip right here is me after practicing for about 20 minutes just playing a deathmatch, and you can tell I'm getting way more comfortable. I would say after about 20 or 30 minutes of playing on this, I was probably at 80% of my regular accuracy on a normal mouse that I'm used to. So I bet you after a few hours, I would be totally comfortable using this. It's no problem. And you're probably asking yourself, okay, your right hand is a mouse, but where's the keyboard? And this is where the other kind of weird part comes in, is the left controller then acts like a keyboard. You've got your WASD on the joystick, which makes sense, but then the other buttons are automatically mapped to what would be your most used buttons on a keyboard in the WASD layout. And so you've got like your reload, your E for action, all of them are on your left controller, and it actually worked pretty easy. It didn't take me too long to figure out, but you do definitely have to learn them, because you can't just look down and see like, oh, press R to reload like on a keyboard, because on here it's like its left bumper is reload. So it does take you a little bit to learn, but once you learn it, it's no big deal at all. So while I went in thinking this was going to be a gimmick and not something that would matter to me at all, it turns out that the FPS mode is actually awesome, and I can see myself using it a lot in the future, and I'm already really enjoying using it. The only thing I would say as far as how you could improve it, or how Lenovo could improve it, this puck grips the right controller with magnets, and the connection is okay, but it doesn't feel like one piece. It doesn't feel like a mouse. It feels like two pieces that are stuck together with magnets, and so you can feel when you move it, there's a little bit of slop in between them. So what I would like to see them do is have a different type of connector, maybe also some locking mechanism, so when they're together and they move together, so you don't get any of that slop. I don't think it really affects your gameplay or your usage, but it does affect how you feel about it. It feels like it's just a little bit cheap or a little bit slapped together. But let's say you wanted to take your brand new Legion Go or your ROG Ally or your Steam Deck on the go with you. That's where today's sponsor TomTalk comes in. They recently came out with this messenger bag, and it's designed to hold whatever handhelds you want. It fits the Lenovo Legion Go, it fits the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, it fits basically all of them. My favorite use case so far has been when I'm going on a plane. I pack my backpack full of stuff, and then I can just take this messenger bag and put the Steam Deck in it, and I put my Kindle, and I put an external battery pack and my headphones and maybe some snacks, and it fits everything with you, and then you can keep it with you on the flight, and it just makes it much easier to travel with your tech, because it's always on you. So if you want to check out the bag, I'll leave a link in the description below, and thanks again to TomTalk for sponsoring this video. But speaking of battery packs, the reason you're going to want to take a battery pack is because this thing's battery life is just okay. Its battery is actually larger than the Steam Deck, coming in at 49.2 watt hours compared to the Steam Deck's 40, but it also has a bigger, brighter screen, a faster, more power-hungry processor, and a bunch of other things that use more power. So in my experience, if you're playing demanding games on the highest settings, you're gonna get about what you get out of the Steam Deck, which for me is around 1 hour of gameplay on the most demanding games. Now, that's in performance mode. If you drop it down to silent mode or quiet mode, then it goes down to like 8 watts on the APU, and then you're gonna get a lot more battery life out of it. But just know, if you're playing something like Elden Ring or Call of Duty or Modern Warfare 2 or like whatever you wanna play that's really demanding, you're gonna get around an hour of battery, which just kind of sucks. But since we're talking about performance, let's talk about performance. So I did a bunch of performance testing on this, and I have to say I am really impressed. This Z1 Extreme APU is capable of a ton, and it's just nice to see good APUs in the handheld business. So let's jump right into the performance testing. Right off the bat, Lenovo's frame counting software didn't work for me for a lot of the filming. I don't know why, I couldn't figure out why. And that actually goes for a lot of their software. It works sometimes, but it doesn't work other times, and it's just just kind of buggy and it needs some work. But that's why you can see I'm using the built-in frame counter from Steam. So all of this testing was done in performance mode, which is using 20 watts. And let's jump right into it. So first we have Apex Legends on their default settings, which is mostly high, but some stuff was at medium, and it's at 1280 by 800 resolution, and we're getting between 70 and 80 FPS, which is really solid. Next, we have Elden Ring on all low settings at 1280 by 800, and we're getting between 45 and 60 FPS, which is really awesome. In games like Elden Ring, the FPS can be really important because it can be the difference between dodging something and not dodging something, because you just have a little bit more reaction time. And on the Steam Deck, I generally get in the 30s and 40s. On Counter-Strike 2 at low settings, 1280 by 800, we're getting between 90 and 120. And that high of FPS is awesome for a twitchy shooter like Counter-Strike. Next, I tried Dota 2, and it defaulted to the max settings, but at 1280 by 800, and we're getting a frame rate of between 60 and 90 FPS. And that might not sound that good, but you have to remember that's at max visual fidelity. What you could do is up the resolution and then drop the graphical settings and get somewhere around a similar frame rate, but it would just have a higher resolution. I'm actually really impressed by how well it ran Dota. So I think if you wanted to play Dota, you could genuinely play with the joysticks, with the controller, and that's something you can't say about any other handheld that I'm aware of. Next, we have World War Z Aftermath on the high presets at 1280 by 800, and we were getting anywhere between 50 and 80 FPS. So if you're wondering how this performance compares with the Steam Deck, I did a whole video on it. If you want to check it out, I'll leave it linked either here or here. I don't know which side it's on. But to save you some time, the Legion Go was generally between 25 and 100% more performance than the Steam Deck. And I know that's a huge range, but that's just the range that it was. On any given game, I would say the average performance increase was around 50% faster than the Steam Deck. So we're talking dramatic increases. And for me, what that meant was where the Steam Deck might play a game at 30 to 40 FPS, the Legion Go would play that same game at 50 to 60 FPS, which is a pretty big difference, at least in my perspective. So it actually did make a dramatic difference on how the game looked and felt. But we can't talk about performance without talking about fan noise, and the Legion Go kind of does have a loud fan. I would say it's louder than the Steam Deck, probably around 50% louder if I'm making up numbers in order to tell you how the fan sounds. It sounds fine, but it's definitely audible. But that being said, it's doing a fantastic job at keeping the Legion cool. During my testing, the CPU and GPU were sitting in the mid 60s and peaking in the low 70s. If you look at the Steam Deck, it was peaking in the low 80s. So you're actually getting a lot lower temperatures in the Legion Go than the Steam Deck, although that does come with higher fan noise. But what you could do is you could create your own custom fan curve, and then you can make the fan do whatever it is you want it to do. Thermally, this device is actually really good, and while it does only have one fan, that fan is more than enough to keep the APU as cool as it needs to be to run at full performance. Okay, and now we gotta talk about some glitches, because while this is awesome and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with the Legion Go, it definitely is in the early days of its software, and you can feel it when you use it. The number one problem I had is just general glitchiness with the Lenovo software, like their Legion Center. I had it crash on me a bunch of times. I had it be slow to open stuff. I had it freeze. None of those things were really game breaking. Usually it would come back to within a few seconds and it was no big deal. A few times I did have to restart the device, but even that for a new device that's in new software, it doesn't really worry me that much. But I did want to let you know that definitely the software is still in early days. Some other glitches I was having is if I plugged in with the USB Type-C into my monitor, the monitor was only going portrait. I tried to mess around in the Windows settings to change that, but I wasn't able to get my external monitor to actually display the signal without it being tilted to the side, so that was kind of annoying. And also, I noticed when I would put a game to sleep after I was done playing, you just hit the power button, but then the fans would keep running for about 20 minutes, and I don't know exactly what it's doing in the background, but it kind of seemed like it was leaving the game running in the background based on the battery drain. So I don't know if that's something they're going to change. Maybe that's something you could change in the Windows sleep settings. Not really sure, but that's how it acts right now, and I don't like that because if you were going to put it in a case or a bag right after you put it to sleep, it could easily suffocate and maybe do some damage to itself. So that's something you should know. And another weird thing I noticed is that when I was playing a game and I was plugged in, the Lenovo Legion wouldn't charge. It would basically just leave the same charge rate. Now, I assume Lenovo did that on purpose because they don't want to add more heat into the system, so they just choose not to charge the battery while you're playing a game. But it wasn't clear to me that you were even able to keep charging the battery while you were playing a game. So if Lenovo has that somewhere in software, what they should do is allow players that when they plug in, they could say like, charge anyway, or just trickle charge because I don't want the extra heat, something like that. But right now it just doesn't charge while you're playing a game so that it doesn't add more heat, and that can be kind of annoying. Okay, so can I recommend this device? And I can say without a doubt, yes, I can recommend this device. I absolutely love the Legion Go. It is fantastic. It's been hurting because I have a Steam Deck and I've been only using the Legion Go instead of a Steam Deck because I like it that much better. It really is a good device. So I definitely can recommend it in spite of it having some pretty early days software. But if you have a Steam Deck, should you buy one of these to upgrade? And I would say it really depends. If you are on your Steam Deck and there's some games that you wanted to play that are on Windows or have an anti-cheat that you can't play on your Steam Deck that this could play, then I think it's a no-brainer. You can do it. Of course, there are workarounds to getting Windows on your Steam Deck or to getting some anti-cheats to work on your Steam Deck, but they are workarounds and they are kind of annoying, whereas this one would work just out of the box. So then it would be a green light. If you're looking for just a performance upgrade, I would say probably don't do it. I would keep waiting a little longer to see what kind of performance we're going to get. While you do definitely get better performance and you're going to enjoy that better performance, I don't think it dramatically changes the gameplay experience, at least for me. Again, unless there's a game where you're only getting like 20 FPS and you would really like to get 30 or 40 and that would make the difference, then I think you could do it. But for just performance, I would say no. I think probably one of the bigger selling points other than the bigger screen is being able to go into that FPS mode. So if you have a game that you wanted to play with a mouse and the Steam Deck trackpads just aren't cutting it for you, then I would say, man, yeah, it's probably a good idea to upgrade because this device really is fantastic. I didn't think I was going to like the Legion Go as much as I do, but I absolutely love it. Lenovo has a winner on their hands, and I hope what this means is they're going to continue the software support and make it better because it definitely needs work, and continue to revise the hardware too, and we see a Legion 2 someday, or a Legion Go 2 someday, because this is something I would like to see continued. If you do end up picking one of these up, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. And if you have any questions or any games you want me to run on this or any other tests you want me to do, then comment below and I'll try to get to them. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks again to TomTalk for sponsoring it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.